welcome to another tutorial with me. My name is Crafty JoJo and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And a couple of days ago I posted this waterfall card, and so many of you asked me to do a tutorial for this, because the special thing about this waterfall card is you only see the front panel, because normally when you do a waterfall card, this is what you see. You see all the panels at least peeping through. I developed this pattern here so that the waterfall actually cannot be seen at first sight. So this is just the front panel that you see, and if you open it here, it has a magnetic closure, and you pull. That's then when your waterfall appears. So how to do this? You will need a few bits and bobs, and I'm going to give you the measurements, and I'm not going to fully decorate my card. I'm just going to explain the principle of how to set this up. So in order to make this card, it has got the cardstock itself, the base of the card, measures 5.5 by 5 inches. So that's your strip is 11 inches by 5, and you score it in half, giving you a card that measures 5.5 by 5. Then you need your designer paper. You can choose literally any one you like, and that measures 5 1/4 inch by 5 inches. So 5 1/4 by 5 inches, and this is going to be this part here. So of course you can amend the measurements. If your card is slightly smaller or bigger, you would need to do that. But what is important about your designer paper is it must have a certain distance to the border here, because if this strip here is too narrow, it will actually tear when you start pulling at some point. Not straight away, but over time, the more often you open and close the card, because it actually applies quite a bit of pressure to these points here, because there's a cutout, as you can see. You see it's cut out, so this will eventually tear unless you reinforce it. But this card wasn't reinforced, so this strip here needs to be wide enough. So if you change the measurements of your card, make sure that the panels that you're going to use for your waterfall are small enough so that you have enough space here. If you make it too narrow, like only 1/4 inch or something, your waterfall will last 1 or 2 tries, and that's it. So be aware of that. So all right, so you got your card strip and you got your designer paper, and then you need your panels. And in order to create this look, like when you look at your waterfall, you only see the front panel. The secret is that they are shrinking one after the other, and in my case I made them smaller, always 1/2 inch. So the first one measures 3.5 by 4. The second one is 3.5 by 3.5, so that's a square. The next one is 3.5 by 3, 3.5 by 2.5, 3.5 by 2, and that's what you end up with. And this is why it's going to work, because they are actually covering each other. And this one is your strip that you need for the pulling mechanism, and it's 3.5 by 5. So now how to figure out where to place your cutout, because apparently you need to cut a window in your paper, in your designer paper, and this is how it goes. You put your designer paper down, and if you've got one of these grids that Stampin' Up! Sells, most demonstrators have it. I'll just align it with the 20 centimeter line here, because these little grids here will help me count. And then because you want to place it in the middle roughly, so I've already put up my markings so I know roughly where it will be. If you haven't got a grid, you figure it out like so. Ignore the grid. So you have your front panel. You want to place this more or less centrally in your card, so you can actually measure. Just use a ruler and measure the distance to figure out where is the center. Once you found the center, you push your pulling strip underneath actually, and you go back to find your center, like so. You can double check with your measurements. In my case, this one measures 3/4 to each side, roughly 3/4, 3/4, and then you measure the distance of the smaller panel. I can't even lift it with my nails. the distance here, this distance, ignore that this card is underneath, but you will need it, but this distance then to check if it sits centrally, and it's almost centrally, so we can leave it like, I'm happy with this. So once you found your center for your strip like so, can you see it actually? I'm not sure if you saw what I did now because I just checked my camera. I'm gonna explain it again, sorry for that. So you just use your ruler and you figure out where the center is, measuring the distances, and then once you are sure it is more or less in the center, you take your front panel, the biggest one, away, and then you use a pen and you just go around it. And then this is what you end up with. You have your front panel with a mark. And this is, before you're going to cut this, you would need to score it. And to score it, you bring in your scoring board and you pop it in like so. Now, this is getting maybe a bit confusing, but we have created this waterfall with 1/2 inch distance. So the steps that you have to score on your paper strip needs to be half an inch distance as well. If you don't do it like that, like let's say you've cut the panels with 1/4 distance, but you only score 3/8 of an inch as a step, it will not work out. So the distance between the cards, the difference in size between each individual card must be exactly the same that you score on your paper here. So as I did it, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, I must score at 1/4 distance, and I'm going to score 1, 2, 3 pages because this is the 4 pages. This is my front panel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is just the cover, so this is not an extra page. This actually is, if you can have a look at it again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this small panel is the last one, but this is not going to flip over anymore. So we need to create 4 score marks on here, and a 5th one for this, because this is going to have a score line here as well, so that we can glue it onto our paper. So actually we need to score 5 times, and it goes like this. So this is my line here. In my case, it aligns with 1, 2, 3, 5/8 of an inch line. So from here I count 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's 1/4, and I score down only inside my pencil marking, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, only between my pencil marking I apply pressure, but I slide. I'm scoring here, I stop scoring, and I just gently slide up to here to carry on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm scoring. Oops. I'm scoring. And I stop scoring. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going down. I start scoring here. Scoring. So how many have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4. So one more, because I need 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, going down and score. All right, so this is difficult to see. I don't know if you can see it. So we've got section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4, and section 5. We need to fold them later. Don't fold them yet. And you've only scored inside your pencil markings. So you can put your scoring board away, and now you need a cutting mat, because I don't want to cut on my paper. And what you are going to do is maybe want to use a pen to make it more visible. This is where my last score line is. So if you cut this open to here, it will allow these strips to come loose and fold inside, but you would give a little tiny bit more. So I would actually cut it open to here, make a marking, just eyeball it, and then you use your metal ruler or whatever you want to use. I'm starting with the bottom one because I need to see what I'm doing, and I'm going to cut from, I'm aligning my ruler with my pencil line here, and I'm cutting down to the 3. So you take a craft knife You can't do it with scissors. Carpet cutter will do as well, and you cut down to 3 like so. And then you flip it around and you do the same on the other side. You should align your 3 with your line now. And this is where it starts, so my eyeballing wasn't too bad. And you just cut all the way to the 3. And then you do the last bit, which is here, connecting your 2 cutting lines with another cut. And try to be really precise. I said really precise. So this is what you end up with. This is what it looks like by the time you've done all what I've explained to you. So you can of course amend it if you want to do smaller steps, you can, but by this actually worked out quite nicely with the size that I've got here. So now what you need to do is you're going to burnish your lines a couple of times to both directions, because you want to get the paper used to be bent, because the way it works, you will understand why this is important. So just burnish it. Oops, don't tear it. And then just the other way around as well, and I'll do that 2 or 3 times just to get the paper used to being bent to both directions. All right, only burnish the 5 score lines that you did. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then back again, and that should do. You will feel actually that the paper, you see what I'm doing, this is like when you pull, this is how the paper actually folds inside. So all right, this is now what you've got. Now the next bit you need to do is you would need to take the longer part, which is the first one to pull, and also give this a score line. And I'm not going to score this at 1/4. Oops, I lost my stylus. I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an 1/8, and I'm going to explain to you why I didn't take the full 1/4. Because if you bend this over and it's a full, really give it a good rub so that it's flat. You're going to glue this from the back side against here. All right. And if this is a full 1/4 as well, like a 1/4 of an inch is your score line here. And if this was also 1/4, it would line up with the score line and be in the way with the folding. So make this the first flap, make this only 3/8 of an inch, your score line. You can also wedge it slightly so that it fits better. And then before anything else, this is the back side, this is my front panel. I can actually, if you like to do so, erase your marks. Quickly take them off. All right. So here we go. So this is the front of my card, and I'm coming in with this card scored at 3/8 of an inch at the short end, and I'm going to glue it underneath here on the first little section. All right, and I'm going to use wet glue, and I'm going to do this upside down. So where's my wet glue? Here it is. I ran out of Tombow. Now I had delivery. It's back in stock. Tombow. Just okay, like so. And now you are going to glue this on. Try to align it with your piece of paper really nicely. Give it a good rub. And this looks perfect. So this is actually how it's going to curl up all your cards. So now this is ready to be glued onto your base card. Give it a good rub. Make sure that it's really nice and sturdy. This is the back side, this is my front, and I don't need to erase anything else here because this is going to be invisible anyway, so because this is going to pull in. So this is ready to be glued to our front panel, the front to our card base. The card base hasn't been scored yet, so it was 11. So you're going to score it at 5 to half it. There we go. I did it wrong. 11 and half is 5.5. Oh well, never mind. It's just all right, sorry for that. Half of 11 is actually 5.5 and not 5. Oh dear, never mind. It'll work fine because this is going to be covered by this anyway. So I am going to actually, I'm not happy with the whole bloody thing. What did I cut here? Because it's supposed, if you look at this, it's supposed to be slightly smaller. So this card was exactly 5 inches. 5 inches by 5.5. And this one here is what? 5 inches by 5.5. So I've cut my paper too big. So I'm going to amend my paper. I'll be back in a second. Bear with me, please. All right, I'm back. I've amended it. My designer paper was cut out too big. Sorry for that. But the measurements I gave you are right. I just actually didn't cut it right with my paper cutter. But the measurements I gave you are right. The designer paper is 5 1/4 by 5. And your cardstock is 5.5. Oh no, it's not. Your cardstock measures 11 by 5, so it's going to fall to 5.5 by 5, and my designer paper then is 5 1/4 by 4 3/4, not 5 inches. So that's wrong. So we have to amend this to 4 3/4 of an inch. So designer paper is 5 1/4 by 4 3/4. And the panels are the same measurements as told before. So all right, so once you've amended everything and you've got the right measurements now, sorry for that, I apologize. This is what you have got. Your designer paper covers almost all of your front, leaving a nice tiny little border, and your card, that's going to be the pulley one, is this one. So before we can glue this on, we would need to make a hole in the middle of this. So we find the middle, just measure it, 3.5. So that is roughly, eyeball it, 1.5, 6, 7, 1.5, 6, 7, something like here. So I'm going to take my hole punch, if only I can find my handheld, and I'm going to make a hole. Have to look for my mark. So roughly here, like so. You make a hole, and then you are going to add some ribbon to it so that you can pull it. I also forgot the ribbon, bear with me. Where is my ribbon box? Here it is. Let's just quickly find a piece. Okay, so I got this stuff here, which is some type of, like, I don't even know what it's called. In German we call it Jute. I don't know what it's called in English. So what I do is I open this. You can actually, if you've got natural twine, but I haven't got twine that is just in plain color. All my twine is colored. So you could get the Night of Navy twine, baker's twine. So I just pull one bit out, like so. And I'm going to, how fiddly am I today? Going to feed it through here. Feed it through. You can leave it like this. It's just make sure you put it in place, because once you've glued this to your front of your card, it's a bit fiddly to get this out. And now all you need to do is you add wet glue to, you just hold this down. So you add wet glue. And you have to get quite close to the borders because you don't want anything to stick up. So once you've applied, am I happy with my wet glue here? No, I'm not. This is not enough, especially. All right. And now that you've done this, make sure when you bring your card in that before you put it down, it opens to this side, and we want to pull to here. So it goes on like here, and you eyeball your designer paper to glue down. Give it a good rub. Make sure your card isn't glued in, so make sure you move it. What you can do is gently give it a rub here, so the paper has like a score line here. That will help. All right, the gluing process is a bit tricky, but once you've got it, it should be fine. So you just glue this. It's very difficult to pull straight if all the cards are not there yet. So this is actually how your mechanism slides in and out. Now make sure that this, while your glue still sets, keep moving it so that your card now it's starting to work the way I want it. All right, so as you can see, it needs a lot of attention. So now this is it. The paper is setting, the glue is setting, and it pulls straight. As long as the glue is still wet and will give way, this won't work. So the next thing to do is glue your cards in place and put them in the right order so that they do it like this. And then you start with the first one, and all you need to do is you apply glue, wet glue, to your first panel, roughly in the middle. Don't add too much, but make sure you add some so that it aligns nicely. And you just going to pop your first card on, and then you pull until it falls down like so, and you push it back to double check. All right, okay, this is the first card in place. Now you do the same thing with your second card. A bit of glue in the center, and you align it like so. And the most important part here is to make sure that they're really straight, so you constantly need to double check if they are still covering each other. So this one can come back a bit. All right, and you give it a good rub, double check. this eraser takes off excess glue, which I really like. So as you can see, panel 1 covers panel 2. So it's time for panel 3. And again, you just apply a thin layer of glue. You take your third panel and you align it. Make sure that it's straight and doesn't peep out anywhere. So you double check by going backwards. And coverage is nice. So 1, 2, 3. Give it a good rub. Last page that folds. So here we go. And again, we check action. The more cards you fill in, the better it actually will work. And this process will be easier as well once you've put in the last stabilizing card. And this is this bit. And this bit is going to glued flat down here. And this will actually stiffen up the whole thing and help a lot. So you just take a lot of your glue. You slide it on. Now look at the state of my bone folder. Never mind. It's still working. Oh God. So this is going to help a lot with your sliding mechanism. As you can see, all your cards are being covered by the front panel. So this is what you're left with at this stage. I'm not going to carry on decorating all these because it's just the video tutorial is going to be too long. I might finish off this card later, but it's just to show you how to actually design the mechanism, and this is how it folds. And with this last card being in place, it's actually helps to make the sliding process really easy. So there you go. This is how it works, and the closure for this one is as simple as can be. I just took a strip of the designer paper. It's measuring 1 inch, I think, so it was 2 inches, folded in half, and glued it in like here, glued a tiny magnet on here, and then when my card, you can't actually, you have to do your closure at the very last, because depending on how much embellishments you add, this will be more or less thick. Because I added a lot of pearls, this is why mine is so thick, but this one is quite flat. If you want to have a look at it, and depending on what you put in as designs, this will vary. So to put up this, you just cut a strip 2 inches wide and maybe 3 inches long, fold it in half, glue it together, glue a little magnet on it, add the second magnet to it, add a bit of glue to the backside of your second magnet, and fold it and hold it in place till the magnet has set, and then you can actually separate it. So the second magnet sits here, and that's after I've put this in. After the magnet has been put in, I've glued in my front panel, so that I left this whole page undecorated, and I first designed the closure, glued the magnets in, and then when I glued my front panel in, I simply didn't add glue in this partition where the magnet is, so I can still slide this in underneath, and then it just, you can actually hear how it clicks. Click. So that's how it catches. And then once this closure was set in place, I just put my front panel on and left spared glue out in this area, no glue here, so that I can push it under. And this is how you actually have a hidden magnetic closure. The magnets I buy, I used here, they come in packs of 50. They're really tiny. and they are measuring 4 millimeters by 1 millimeter, but you get them with 6 by 1 as well as 8 by 1 on eBay. Just Google or just put the keyword mini magnets in, or neodyme magnet, and you write like 4 by 1 millimeter, and they come up. They are like 100 magnets are like £4.50 or something, so free of postage. So, and the seller is UK based, so they are there almost the next day. I had mine really quickly. So these are the magnets that I use. I'm probably going to buy a few bigger ones as well, like maybe 6 or 8 millimeters. But it's important that they're only 1 millimeter thick, because if they're thicker, they will bulk up. So this is the closure for it. And as I said before, remember to only design the closure once you've finished decorating your panels, because if you haven't finished decorating your panels, you can't really tell how thick your package is going to be. And that's actually it. This is how I designed this book, and I hope you like it. And I'm going to put the measurements again on my blog, which is craftyjojo.blogspot.co.uk, and my card measures 5.5 by 5, and my designer paper measures 5 1/4 by 4 3/4 of an inch. And then you have this little frame that is actually looking through, and it's actually quite nice. And as you can see, you can only tell that I actually misscored it here when you open the inside, but I'm probably going to put a nice panel on the inside to cover this up as well, and that's it. So I can still use this base card. So basically this is it, and I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, which was slightly chaotic. Sorry for that, but as always, if I do things, you are actually witnessing the process of designing it. So there is a trial and error as well included in it. And to be honest, it took me about 3 prototypes. This was the 3rd. So 2 wasted prototypes where the measurements had gone wrong until I figured out how to get it right, so that my card actually opens up nicely like so. And remember that when you decide on the size of your front paper, of your designer paper, that you leave enough space here, because it's going to create some tension here, especially if your designs bulk up like mine did here, and this can easily tear. So if this strip is too narrow, it will tear. But this should be fine. This one is probably going to be much flatter. I'm not going to do exactly the same design again. I'm going to think about it and maybe work on it this afternoon. So thanks again. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet, and maybe my blog as well. In the description of this video you find all the links to all the pages, my Facebook group, and if you ever have considered joining Stampin' Up as well as a demonstrator, I would be more than happy if you would join my team. And you can do so. The link is on my blog or on my Stampin' Up website. And this is another product I really love, because it's our glue eraser. As you can see, I just took the glue off so that it's nice and tidy again. There's another bit of glue here. It just erases it. Love it. Because I must admit, I use a lot of wet glue and sometimes it just smudges. And when the corners are dirty like this, I just cut the tiny bits off and then it works again. When it's time to cut the corners, you will actually notice when it doesn't erase anymore very well. Instead of erasing, you're just smudging it from the left to the right. Then it's time to just take your scissors and cut it off like so. There you go. Going to cut this. Going to cut my corners here. So that's how you actually renew your rubber, and then with a fresh corner like this, it works perfectly all right again. All right, that's something else, and this is this tutorial done, and have a nice day, and bye bye.